Your foot strike is going to be your most important predictor when it comes to sprinting speed. And within your foot strike, your acceleration and how you're able to strike the ground within the first 3 to 4 steps is a great predictor of your ability to get to a higher top speed. And so today we're going to be talking about your foot strike, how to be able to accelerate, and really how to make the most improvement within your sprinting in the fastest amount of time. This is something I tell people all the time is like, if you're looking to be able to improve your 100, your 40, your 60, your first 10 yards, your first 10 meters is where you could probably make up the most amount of improvement, because when you can properly strike the ground correctly, properly accelerate, it has such a tremendous impact on the entirety of your sprinting. And so let's go ahead and get into it. This is going to be a 40-yard dash start. I know for some of you guys that are watching from a track and field perspective, block perspective, might not be able to relate to some of this stuff, but for a lot of people, we want to be able to see some of the key parts of acceleration and make it so you can better understand and better implement some of these key fundamentals to improve your sprinting speed. So both these guys are very fast. Both these guys are running probably 4.6 or under in the 40. I know he runs in the 100, about 11-second 100. I think he ran 4.5 here with the 40-yard dash. So when he's getting set up, we can see he's already kind of leaning a good amount to his right side. This is kind of a different approach to your acceleration. So he has a lot of weight on the right side, shifts a lot of weight onto his left as he's accelerating, and then also gets a good bend into that front leg, good rotation in the front foot to then be able to get a solid push off. This would look a little bit different out of the blocks because you don't have the same type of setup. The setup would be more like this, where the feet are more underneath the hips, the very strong and connected ground position. You can see as he's pushing off, he has a lot of torque into the ground as he's pushing, where he even leaves a little bit of a imprint into the turf, and that makes it so he gets a lot more of an outward projection within that first step. So not as much lean, a much more outward projection on that first step, which I like. I think it's really good. Both guys do a good job of landing on the inside part of the foot. So we see one who is a little bit wider with the step, but not as much distance per step, where another a lot more width, or picking up a lot more distance on that first step, both landing on the inside part of the foot. The issue here is we end up having to come a lot across here because the foot is behind the other leg. I think it's better to have this foot not behind the other leg to make it so then we can come straight through with that knee. We can see very good job of being able to get into this position. This angle, I think, is critical. Both guys get it, but we could just see a lot more effective on the left in comparison to the right. And then as we're striking the ground, you can see very wide with that foot strike here, where very, not necessarily wide, but very quick, and also much more on the front part of the foot on the left. Very wide with the arms though. So a little bit more straight ahead with the legs, but a little bit wider with the hands. And I just want to give you guys a little bit more understanding of like, what are some of the key things that really stand out when it comes to acceleration? What are things that I could do? And again, both these athletes are very, very good with their acceleration. I mean, obviously we're always looking for areas to improve, but it's important to take a look at what you're doing in your ability to accelerate and strike the ground, because everybody that I look at, there's a very, very big difference in how they're accelerating. Now, a lot of times when you get to top speed, you can look at Usain Bolt, you can look at Asafa Powell, you can look at Noah Lyles, you can look at a lot of these top guys and see a lot of similarities with what it looks like at kind of the end, that last maybe 80 to 100 meters or the last 20 meters of a race. If you watch them when they accelerate, all three of them would seem very, very different in how they're landing, how they're striking, how they're absorbing, how they're towing off. And so again, I think it's important to be able to really look and see how you're accelerating in those first 3 steps to be able to make a very big impact on how your entire race will end up looking. Now, again, here, third step, now very much on the heel, way too far back on that third step, where you can see here, much better job with the third foot getting up and through and landing much more on the toes. Really like that third step here. But again, very much crossing over with that fourth step, or as he's transitioning into the fourth step. So one of the things that we work on a lot with the athlete on the right is being able to limit how much, as he's pushing off, the feet are coming here, and try to maximize as the foot's pushing off to get the knees to be able to come straight through. We see a little bit on with this as well on the left where the foot's coming across, but he's also very wide with these steps, very similar to what we see out of Xavier Worthy in his acceleration. But this is probably a little bit too wide of a step there on the left. Very good landing position, though. Like the landing position, but too wide. So now much more on the heels here. Again, this is where a lot of improvement can be made. 11 seconds in the 100 in high school. This is when he was 16, might have been 17, somewhere in there. Still very respectable time for his age, but you could see so many things that can improve. Same type of thing here. This is probably about a 4.6, maybe 4.65 40, and also 16, maybe 17, somewhere in there. And we can still see a lot of things that can improve with how he's striking the ground on like the right side, how he's pushing off the ground. Notice on the left side, much better with the push off, which is good. And then being able to strike the ground a little bit more effectively. He just doesn't have as much. He's a right-handed athlete, so we want to be able to be more efficient with the right foot and right push off to make it so then we could be a little bit quicker. How can we make it so you can go from running a 1.610 down to closer to a 1.510 for the 10 yards? If you're running a 100, you want to get closer to like sub 2 seconds, like closer to 1.9, especially when you add in the reaction time as well. A lot of times you want to get in like that 1.9, maybe 1.8 area. And so high 1.8 area. And so what we want to be able to do in order to do that is, again, look to see how are we striking the ground, because a lot of guys, again, if you make a improvement from 1.60 to 1.50, 1/10 of an improvement, that is a huge improvement. Where if you go from 19 to 20 miles an hour, one, it's going to take you a lot of time to go from 19 to 20 miles an hour for most people, especially if you're very much tapped out here at 19. Some people, if they're working on their mechanics, can get a lot more speed a lot quicker. But for a lot of people that are already tapped down their sprinting mechanics, to be able to just build up their bodies to go from 19 to 20 miles an hour, for 22 to 23 miles an hour, the amount of improvement that is just a very small amount. Where if you can improve your acceleration, not only can you make a big improvement from just that first 10 yards, right, a whole 1/10 of a second, which is 10 times better than improving 1/100th of a second. Again, that's going to be the difference between, running maybe 20 to 20.3 miles an hour. And that's going to be a lot of work to go from 20 to 20.3 miles an hour, where it doesn't take that same amount of work to be able to get the efficiency of your start from 1.60 down to 1.50. Maybe to 1.50 it would be, but maybe some of you guys who are like at 1.70 to get down to 1.60 in your acceleration would make a big difference. And on top of that, you would also be able to accelerate better, which would make it so then your 20 to 30 meter would be better, or 20 to 30 yard would be a better time. So not only would your acceleration improve, we would see improvement in all stages of your splits as you're running the 40, the 60, or the 100. I'm always looking at the splits. I think it's important to be able to consider the splits. What are we doing from 0 to 20, but then also what are we doing from 40 to 60, or what are we doing from 0 to 20 for the 40, but then what does it look like from 20 to 40? Because if we don't have that information, we don't really know what to work on. And then if we need to be able to work on something, or if the whole thing is bad or the acceleration is bad, then there's no point of really fixing the top end speed, because if we don't have the acceleration, we just don't have the time to be able to make a big improvement. If you have a 3-second 20, right, even if you ran an Olympic level last 20, you're still not going to run 4.55. Okay. And so that's really why you need to be able to work on the acceleration, because you have to be able to get the first 20 meters down, or the first 20 yards down, to be able to at least give yourself a chance. And a lot of that has to do with how are you striking the ground. The more effective you can strike the ground, and also set yourself up with the ground strike to make it so then you can accelerate to an effective top speed to make it so then you can have a great time. A lot of you guys I know are looking to have better 100 meters or 40-yard dashes. And so in order to do that, though, we have to be very specific on what are we doing within our acceleration that's making it so we're either not finishing well, not accelerating well, combination of both, and what are going to be the most effective things to work on to improve. Ankle flexion, dorsiflexion, hip flexor strength. There's a lot of different things we can get into. But in this video, I just wanted to give you an example of two different athletes. How are they striking the ground? What are some of the differences that are still very effective? Okay, so the main point of this is that these are still effective acceleration. As much as it's not perfect, it's effective acceleration. I can give you hundreds of examples of effective acceleration. Make sure if you are training for sprinting, training to run faster, your acceleration is correct, because if it's not, everything else is going to be negatively impacted. Thanks for watching. If you want to check out some of the things that we have from a coaching perspective, check the description down below. As always, thanks for watching. We'll talk to you soon.